Particular welcome to our three candidates here. We've got Patricia Casement, and we've got Siobhan Donald, who will be known, I think, and Anne-Marie O'Neill. I think, again, various ones will know various people who've put themselves forward here. And thank you for coming and being part of this event. We're working under the governance rules of the Royal College of Nursing, so there will be a kind of fairly precise way that we will go about it. It's the first time we've held hustings like this, so it's a first for all of us. So hopefully we'll get it right. The aim is particularly to try to engage membership in being aware of who their candidates are, being aware of what the council is all about, and really the importance of everybody supporting the role of the council as it seeks to support you as the members. It's a mutual support thing. Very shortly, I'm going to invite candidates in alphabetical order to make their presentation to you. They've got 3 minutes to do that, so we're not formally timing, but we will just keep an eye, and should we find that we're running over a little bit, I will just be saying, hang on here, we need to be moving on. When each of the candidates have presented themselves to you, then we have some questions. We're kicking off with 3 that are already up on the PowerPoint presentation, and I will be varying who leads off, but each candidate will get 2 minutes to speak in answer to that question. And then when we've been through those 3 initial questions, we're going to be taking the ones from the floor that some of you have written. Again, it'll be varying the order of who starts and who follows and finishes up. And when we've got through those, we'll be looking at the time and seeing how we're doing. If you've got a little bit of extra time and there may be some burning issue that what's been said has raised for you, then we will take the opportunity to invite you to present that question from the floor. You won't need to write it down, but we will ask you just to introduce yourself and the branch that you're involved in. As you can see, photography is happening during the event, and it's also being videoed and will be then being put up on the YouTube, I think John has said, so that members who can't be here tonight will hear what the candidates have to say and what the discussion has been. I should say that when we take the questions, there won't be the opportunity for you to come back at the candidate. Okay, so the question will be asked, they will say their piece, each of them, and then we move on to the next question. So it's not a debate as such, but it is an opportunity to raise questions, hear what the candidates have to say to each of those. So up to you to give them the grilling, you know. That's what it's about. And yet we're all friends here. Now, you can Twitter if you're a Twitterer, and I think you're familiar with the RCN hashtag, which is please tag at RCN_NI. So that's there for you. So I think that's all the opening remarks. John, have I missed anything? No, I think we're happy enough. We've covered the ground. So I'm now going to invite the candidates to give us their 3-minute presentation. So Patricia is going to start for us. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen and chair. I am Patricia Casement, a Royal Victoria trained nurse with neurological and palliative experience. I now run a bespoke nursing and care agency called Trackers. I have been a long-standing member of the RCN and participated in their political leadership programme, as well as being an active member of the former Nurses Agency Forum. Others describe me as tenacious and focused, and if I succeed in getting on to council, I will use my energies to address the major issues affecting all nurses, healthcare assistants and nursing students in Northern Ireland. The issues that I will include is pay and conditions. Northern Ireland has been left out of a UK pay agreement which saw salaries increase by 6 to 9% in England and Scotland. The Northern Ireland Health Services have critical problems with 1,800 nursing vacancies. The second issue is health and safety in the workplace. I run trackers with the ethos of promoting and providing independence, safety and dignity for all individuals, and that includes especially the staff as well as for the service users and patients. Safety is of paramount importance. It is especially true with regard to A&E, where our nurses and healthcare individuals are exposed to patients with addiction, with drug and alcohol issues. Next, higher education in nursing. The degree programme has given us kudos, professional kudos. However, we need now to equip ourselves in our rapidly expanding, changing profession with more CBD competencies. The fourth agenda is the balloting on industrial action over the pay deficit. I personally am not in favour of this action. However, if our member majority believe it is a necessary one, I will respect and support this motion. District nurses, they are underfunded, under-resourced and often abused while treating patients in the community. My sixth point regards nursing agencies. They provide a vital resource for community and critical care and the supply of healthcare professionals in hospitals and nursing homes. Transforming Your Care described an overarching roadmap for change in the provision of health and social care services in Northern Ireland. Its objective was to lead us into a future where we have an increasing elderly population and comorbidities, and especially against our seasonal backgrounds of pressures. And lastly, staffing ratios in hospitals and nursing homes. The RQIA has increased vigilance here and staff ratio monitoring. The more stressed an environment is, due to understaffing, the increase of errors and reduction of work-life balance, which is a right for all our nurses and healthcare professionals. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Siobhan, and Tamara, thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming this evening. My name is Siobhan Donald. I'm the current council member for Northern Ireland, and hope to be a council member once again. As you know, RCN has had a turbulent year. Following the RCN Council review, the new structures commenced in January of this year, with a reduced council number and elected members taking positions to the newly formed professional and trade union committees. This was a transitional process, and while many of the previous council members remained on council, there was a new drive to move the organisation forward by strengthening the trade union and professional voice, as well as reinforcing the links between council, board, branches and forums, and ultimately establishing a reconnection with our members. The subsequent events from June to September of this year, culminating in the EGM and standing down of the current council at the end of this year, which includes myself, has provided an opportunity for the RCN members to have an in-depth reflection of how the organisation should be managed, conducted and governed. As a result, there will need to be a recovery period. Trust needs to be rebuilt and engagement strengthened, but ultimately this must be used as an opportunity to recreate the RCN for the members who are the RCN. So why vote for me? I have 30 years experience as a nurse, promoting the nursing voice at local and strategic level. I understand the leadership challenges currently faced by Council and the importance of member engagement in ensuring the voice of the silent majority is heard. I believe I have the leadership skills and resilience to ensure that the recommendations from the independent review, which was commissioned by Council, are actioned. I will help ensure the college makes the change that the members ask for, and will ensure that all college activity will include member engagement, equality and inclusion. I have a good understanding of the nursing issues, staffing, pay, the need for enhanced wellbeing, educational and career opportunities, in addition to these key areas of safe and effective nurse staffing and terms and conditions. Nursing must not be diminished or devalued, but must be given the respect, esteem and importance of the profession it deserves. Key issues should not remain unresolved due to the current political impasse in Northern Ireland. I will ensure that your commitment to care is recognised, respected and rewarded. We know nurses care, but currently feel disempowered and frustrated. It is my aim to keep raising these real concerns and giving members the confidence to question how they, as the RCN, can bring the safe staffing agenda forward. I am a good communicator and to date have influenced outcomes as an elected member of the RCN Northern Ireland Board, the Council and the committees. I have a clear understanding of the College, both as a professional organisation and trade union, and the importance of member engagement across all sectors and settings within health and social care across the 4 countries of the UK. As the current RCN Council member, I have continually articulated your views and advocated for Northern Ireland, raising the inequalities that exist here, and will continue to promote this debate to ensure that it continues to be on the agenda nationally. I am a member of the Northern Ireland Board Pay Subcommittee, which continues to actively engage with politicians, civil servants and other trade unions to proactively seek fair pay and conditions for all staff. I have presented to RCN Council on numerous occasions regarding the inequalities, and work is currently underway to progress these issues. Northern Ireland hosted RCN Congress in Belfast for the first time in 2018.
Need to finish soon.
We, as members of the RCN staff, showed the passion we have for nursing and the organisation. I want to build on that success and continue to engage with local members to hear their voice, their concerns and priorities, and provide the platform for these issues to be raised and listened to. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Anne-Marie, thank you.
I can hardly see over this. Good evening, Chair, RCN staff and you, the audience here this evening for the Council Hustings. I welcome the opportunity to tell you about myself and why I asked for your support in running for the Northern Ireland Council seat. Maybe you can see this without glasses. I am in my 40th year of nursing, having experience in many nursing roles and settings, an RCN activist since 1996, sitting on the Trust Trade Union Committee since then. I am now a full-time trade union secretary within that trust, and that's the Northern Trust. I am confident I can represent all RCN members working in Northern Ireland and in the wider UK. I was council member for Northern Ireland from 2005 to 2013, sitting on many committees during that and my council years. I served as Vice Chair of Council as part of my council role. I sat on the RCN Northern Board from 2001 as board member, treasurer and board chair for my council term. The experience gained through serving on council and board chair has been invaluable to me. I remain fully committed to the nursing family and work on behalf of my members in my trade union secretary role as I do within the trust. I am very aware of all the pressures nurses have to deal with in their health service today. For example, your pay, your inadequate staffing levels that are top of the agenda in every committee I sit on, pressures to meet targets driven by management, and bullying and harassment within work areas. I will work tirelessly for the nursing family if elected as your council member. I have been an RCN member since 1978 when I commenced my nurse training, and active in the branch since 1996, holding various positions within that branch. As I've said before, I have 40 years of professional nurse experience in an extremely busy trust, where I have gained a wealth of knowledge and skills that has enhanced my communication throughout that trust and the wider health service, which I know will be of great benefit to me if elected as your council member for Northern Ireland. I have told you of my experience, knowledge and skills to run for the council seat, especially in the light of the difficult times the RCN has went through recently, and look forward to chatting with you later and answering any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. So now we're going to tackle some of the questions that have come in, and we're going to start with the first there, which I have to put your name from here, cameraman there. What made you decide to put your name forward in this election, is the question. Okay, and I'm going to invite Patricia, and then Siobhan, and then Anne-Marie. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So shout out from there. That's
Okay.
great.
Thank you, Dame Judith. I've always been a very ardent member of the RCN and respected their philosophies, and despite all the changes that the RCN has gone through, what matters to me most is what's happening on the ground with our nurses and healthcare assistants as well, and they still, that's where all the support is needed. and I believe I do have a strong avenue to help provide that support. I'm out on the ground with those nurses and healthcare assistants day to day, and listening to what their issues are, and listening to where there's maybe inadequacies in the systems that we have, and we just haven't got the right formulas yet in delivering the services that we need, and to give them full support and to keep them in a safe environment. And I believe I can make a difference with that.
Thank you. Siobhan?
Thank you. Well, I believe I've got the skills to take this forward, in terms of I have learnt on the job in relation to, I have 30 years experience of nursing at all areas of nursing, from leadership roles through to clinical roles. In the past 3 years I've been a council member and a board member. I think I've understood the RCN as an organisation better, and understand what the members actually want from the organisation. I think I've got the integrity and the professionalism to be able to take that voice forward to council, to be able to be the voice of Northern Ireland, to represent the members. I think I've got the professional credibility within members in Northern Ireland, because I am visible, and I am an open person who can listen and understand what the concerns are for people who are taking things forward in relation to staffing, pay and conditions. And I hope that you would be understanding in terms of being able to put your trust in me to be able to take those issues forward.
Thank you. Anne-Marie?
Well, with the experience I have on council through the trade unions and knowing exactly what the RCN represents, I feel the RCN's in a very difficult position at the minute, and I thought, with my experience, knowing the politics of RCN organisation as a whole, that I may be able to influence or negotiate what would help and what would make it better for the members. I think it has lost the voice of the members. The members are not being listened to. I'm being told that on the ground now, as I sit as a trade union secretary, that the RCN is not listening to the members and what they want, and I feel I'm the person that can do that for you. Having that experience, working through very difficult times when I worked in the RCN on council and in different positions in that council role, that I be able to be the voice for you with the length of time I've been in nursing and all I know about the RCN. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anne-Marie. Okay, pause for thought. And then our second question is, what is the biggest priority for nursing in Northern Ireland? And this time, Siobhan is going to lead, followed by Anne-Marie, and then come back to Patricia. So Siobhan, would you like to kick us off on this question?
I believe the key issues for nurses in all environments within Northern Ireland is safe staffing, in terms of staffing numbers, and this is evidenced through a number of surveys, a number of feedback from people on the ground, and just in terms of how people have to, and the things they have to put up with every day. Pay terms and conditions is also the second issue, and they are very much related. The disparity between pay for Northern Ireland members is beyond something we can comprehend now, and I think as a council and board member we're trying to take that forward. But pay and conditions has an impact on the safe staffing in relation to the frustrations, in relation to job satisfaction, recruitment, retention of staff, in relation to the motivation and the work that they have to put through. It has an impact in terms of other issues in relation to, which are all related, are car parking, which is an issue in relation to some of the issues of which is costly, violence and aggression, bullying, harassment, all things that are all very real things that people are feeling on the ground every day as they try to do their day's work. So I think for me as a council member to try and take that forward is listening to the issues that staff have to face on a day-to-day basis, making their terms and conditions better by influencing those who have the ability to change. We are, as a council member currently and as a Northern Ireland member, we have lobbied with a lot of the MPs, a lot of the public support in terms of how we can make the conditions and terms and get a decent pay award for our members in Northern Ireland that will reflect recruitment and retention and being able to attract people from other parts of the country to make this a good place to work and to make people feel valued and feel that they are doing and felt worthy of the job that they're doing every day.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anne-Marie?
Well, I suppose my point, and I've been talking about this recently a lot in my workplace, is the staffing levels. And staffing levels covers an awful lot of things. I was asked at a committee I was on, what would nurses want most of all, and I listed 3 or 4 things, and that was if they could have the normal staffing levels on their ward, if they could get off duty in time, if they could get their breaks in time, and if they could keep the holidays they had booked. There's an awful lot of issues out there around the staffing. Because we aren't training enough nurses and we haven't enough people on the floor, it's a very bad scenario to be in. I would fight my damnedest to get that improved, because I've been there. I worked as a night sister for many years in the trust I was in, and trying to manage the bare minimum of staff and wards is impossible. And still you're pushed, that leads me on to the bullying and harassment, you're pushed to meet targets. I know they would deny that doesn't go right down to the coal face, but of course it does. Somebody at the top says these targets have to be met, and that is all down through the line, and the people on the ground floor are the ones that have to meet the targets. And through that, they're bullied to get it. There's issues, numerous issues in Northern Ireland that need to be addressed, but that staffing issue to me is the biggest. Your pay should come automatically. If we had a government in place, and I would do everything I could to influence that, to try and get you the same pay that everybody else get to the same level. The disparity between the nurses here and the nurses in Scotland is something shocking, like thousands and thousands of pounds. That impacts on your pension. I know a lot of you aren't thinking about your pension now, but that all goes on to your basic when you get the proper pay raises, not these handshakes you've got of £500. So staff and pay, good working conditions and respect, that people can be respected in the job they do, and everybody can treat each other with respect.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Patricia?
The biggest priority, I believe, is people enter the nursing profession, and as caregivers, it's a vocational decision that they make. And they are trained to carry out a role, but when they reach that environment, they find they're in a very stressed, aggressive arena where they're expected to deliver as they were taught, and is in a lot of cases an impossibility. The NHS has got guidelines there that there is an expectation of how service users and patients need to be treated. And we now know in this environment that we're in of austerity that those guidelines are not met. And yet our staff are still asked day after day, shift after shift, to continue to deliver, and the shortcomings aren't addressed, and the stress continues, and there is no focus or even vision on where this is going to lead to. So leadership and good management is required in the industry, and our staff need to be taught how, these are competencies that they need to be taught more, and how to manage themselves as individuals, how to manage their teams, how to manage their colleagues, in order that we can help each other as a family to carry out the tasks that we're meant, and the target lists, and to meet them. We spend a lot of talk on safeguarding, and it's usually in regards to the people that we deliver services to, but safeguarding of our staff, I think, needs to be paramount and needs to be at an equal level and at an equal parallel as individuals, and for respect for each other. Family life is also important, and our nurses and healthcare assistants, family life needs to be in the equation. Doing 3-4 shifts for 12, 13 hours, coming on really early, coming on late at night, there is no way that quality of our social life, our emotional life, and our psychological lives, that there has to be some implications on that, and that there needs to be a cessation of that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So that's the first round on the first question, the biggest priority. So that was the second question, wasn't it? Sorry. Getting ahead of myself or behind myself. Third question. If elected, how will you help to ensure that the recommendations of the ERS report, which I think everybody in the room is familiar with, how those recommendations are actually going to be implemented by the RCN? And this time, Anne-Marie is going to start before us.
Well, I hope with the experience I've had in council and the politics of council and the politics of the RCN that I would be able to help carry that through and be able to work with the staff in the RCN and with other staff to make sure that's carried through. And my experience of sitting around negotiating tables and committees, most of my work in life through a trade union role, that would help me to ensure that the recommendations are implemented.
Okay, thank you. Patricia?
Through my experience as a manager and a leader of others, I believe that I can communicate well and bring forward the recommendations of others to the table and come up with ideas out of the box of how things can be delivered.
Okay, thank you. Siobhan?
We know in relation to the report following the EGM was a very difficult time for the RCN, and as being part of the council that was within that EGM report, the recommendations that came out of it were in relation to the inconsistencies in decision making through the process, their lack of a communication strategy or the clarity of roles within the people who were making the decisions through that process. So I think for a council member taking that forward, one of the things that I would need to do is early involvement of the members and to ensure, and I think within Northern Ireland we're already doing that with our current pay campaign, but we need to make sure that there's a communication strategy that is communicated to all, understood by all, and that there's a two-way process that people are able to input into that. They also, and that was one of the suggestions in terms of the roles of who makes the decisions at each point of the process throughout any kind of negotiation. So I think that clarity of roles has to be a bit more clear in terms of who does what, where the roles of responsibility and accountability lie, and as council we can ask for that and make sure that that is fed through up from the members in terms of how they want to be communicated and through what forum. I think I can do that, having lived through the process and the learning throughout the EGM. I think it was a difficult process for the college, but I think it's seen as an opportunity that we can make change and that we can make sure that how we move forward is certainly learning from the recommendations and making sure that we have an accountable decision-making process that can be can stand up to any kind of scrutiny from members and that be accepted by members.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we're now going to take questions from some of the folks in the room here. So hopefully you'll recognise your question. I'm just going to read it out from the paper here. So this is from Rasheen Devlin and South Eastern Branch. Question is, what is your unique selling point that you can bring to the RCN Council as the Northern Ireland rep? And I think we're back to the beginning, so that's you, Patricia, to start this time, and then Siobhan, and then Anne-Marie. So what is your unique selling point that you're going to bring to the council as the Northern Ireland rep?
Resilience. I have been in nursing for 40 years, and each of those years has brought me new skills and new vision as well. But one of the things that I am renowned for is going that extra mile, and whenever a job needs done, that I complete it, and I'll wait until I get closure on it. I look after myself and I look after other people in order to make sure my energy stay high and keep focused in order to deliver what needs to be delivered. And I think anybody that knows me and I have done work with would describe me as an honest person with integrity, and I only state I will do things if I'm going to complete them.
Okay, thank you. Siobhan?
I think my selling point at this minute in time is experience in terms of the current council member having had 3 years experience at the council table, understanding the RCN position in terms of what their goals and aspirations and their purpose is in relation to representing members at the highest level. And in Northern Ireland, I feel as if now I understand the Northern Ireland position. I've been involved in the pay campaign, and I think members know me and know and trust my integrity to be able to bring that voice forward to the national table. I'm very passionate and enthusiastic about Northern Ireland and making sure that they fit in to the RCN agenda moving forward, and I think that that's the selling point that I can bring in terms of making sure that I can represent the voice of the members of Northern Ireland.
Okay, thank you. Anne-Marie?
Well, Roisin, I believe it's my experience in the years that I have spent at the RCN and know the exact politics of it, and my experience in nursing and being able to speak up for members no matter what the issues are. And I think it's maybe the knowledge and skills that I have that is my best selling point and what I would bring to the table. And the fact that I can communicate with anybody. I'll talk to anybody, I'll get round a table with anybody to try and get the best for the members.
Okay, thank you. Our next question then is from Brish Quinn, Belfast branch. What is your number one key priority if successful? And how will you ensure buy-in from the Northern Ireland members? So Siobhan, I think you're taking this first this time.
The number one priority for Council, I think, and for a Northern Ireland Council member, is that we ensure that we embed the structures and the recommendations of the EGM and the ERS recommendation, the ERS report. That is as a general council, that's how we move forward as an organisation. The priority for Northern Ireland is to make sure that we get the voice heard in relation to pay parity, and to make sure that we can take that forward locally, but make sure that we have the support of Council and that we can have our structures embedded to make sure that we have the power and the voice to bring Northern Ireland forward, to have the same terms, conditions and pay parity as the rest of the UK, so that we are within the RCN recognised as the same as we are as the UK members.
Thank you. Anne-Marie?
Well, the key priority, I believe, would be the recommendations of the following the EGM, and to make sure that they are listened to and how strongly the members talked about that. Plus that we work on the pay issue and that we get the same pay in Northern Ireland as everybody else has.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's totally unfair, like there's thousands of pounds of difference, and you know, the voice for Northern Ireland needs to be strong, because it could be very easily forgotten about, and that would be key for me.
Thank you. Patricia?
The key priority is to set up the communication pathways that we can hear what our members want, and from that set objectives that they can see that it's being communicated of how those objectives are being delivered, that there is timescales put in place, and we let our members know what is happening throughout that process, to give them basically, and to inspire them that the process is working and their union is successful for them and it's a voice for them.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question is from Robert Sowney, again from the Belfast branch. What is the candidate's view on an elected General Secretary as opposed to an appointed General Secretary? And Anne-Marie, I think you're kicking us off on this one.
Hello, Robert. And I think you know what my views were on this, that it should be an elected General Secretary, as it is with any other union. I think sometimes the RCN's trade union side has been lost, and I fear maybe that could get worse, and the professional side. And I don't want to see the professional side lost, but we need to, like, when members join the RCN, and we have an awful lot of members UK-wide, Northern Ireland, when they join the RCN, they hope to never have to talk to them. But when they need them, they really need them, and they need them for that trade union role to represent them in the workplace when something goes wrong. And with the staffing levels you have now, the pressures you're under, there's a far bigger chance that you'll be brought under the radar of your managers or your senior managers under some of the policies that they have in place. So an elected General Secretary that the membership, the total membership would support and would maybe have more respect for, would be the way I would want to go.
Okay, thank you. Patricia?
Elected General Secretary is what I agree with. I think it gives the members ownership of who represents them and keeps them in touch with who is representing them and their philosophies and their values, and gives them increased accountability for any of the decisions that are made.
Okay, thank you. Siobhan?
My personal view at this stage is I'm not sure that the RCN is ready for an elected representative or General Secretary, because I think we need to have more engagement and communication with our members. Our turnout for elections at the minute is very low. With our recent presidential election, it was a 6.9%. And I think to have a position that has so much accountability and so much control and power decision making, we need to have somebody with the correct skills. And I think through a really robust recruitment process, we can get the right person. And then to make sure that we have the accountability and governance through council, that person can be held to account for the role that they do. I'm not saying that in the future, whenever we have an engagement process where we have turnouts for elections that might be greater, then that might be something that we need to reconsider in the future. But my personal view at the minute is I don't think that we're ready for that.
Thank you very much for that. Conor McDowell is our next questioner from South Eastern Branch. How will you ensure the RCN is more visible in my workplace is the question. And Patricia, your turn to start.
If it's for me individually, I
think in the questioner's workplace we're talking about, so as the members' place. Sorry,
right,
sorry,
okay.
just to clarify.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is actually how we have found that it is for any communication with our staff, and we are even using it for our staff in the independent sector, and it is actually what works. It obviously has got, we need to be careful how it's been used with data protection and with GDPR, but it is a medium that can work and can be used in such a way that it's attractive for people to use. And unfortunately we need to use those basically appeal to bring people in and get people to hear and see what we're trying to communicate, because everybody is so busy, and within the workplace they're trying, they're either working very hard or during their off time they are trying to socialise, and this is the only time that we have got as a union to communicate with our members and to bring them on board, to engage with them and get them to answer back. And whether it's to basic questions and one-off lines which has got one-off answers to it, at least if we've got that two-way communication going backwards and forwards, it's a start, and we need to start from bottom up to encourage that.
Thank you. Siobhan?
Can I just have a question again, please?
Yes, certainly. Question again says, how will you ensure the RCN is more visible in my workplace? Says Conor.
Conor, I think it depends what you mean by visible. Is it physical visibility, then that's in relation to the members that are out there, because we're not just the RCN. The RCN is everybody, and is everybody in relation to their members. So it's how we become that voice of everybody that in their workplace from day to day. There's the visibility on social media, and I think we have to look at the different networks or different engines that we can be visible, and whether it's through social media, whether it's through physical presence, whether it's through posts, we have to be able to understand what engine everybody wants to communicate with. The younger generation like something now. They like the social media, and they want to be able to have an answer or have something that is relevant to them that's going to be there visible right now. The older generation just want to know that the RCN is going to be there for them. They want to know that they've got the support and guidance if they ever need it. So we have to channel into that and determine what kind of visibility and what kind of presence people want, but we have to be there whenever they want it, and I think that's what we have to make sure, that we're targeting and focusing the right engines in the right places. So I think visibility is difficult, but as long as we understand what it is, then we can focus in on that.
Okay, thank you. Anne-Marie?
Conor, I believe what you mean by that is you would like to see people that you can actually talk to coming round your workplace. And you know, that is just like everything, like nursing now, like activists and people, learning reps, whoever would come round your wards. There's less and less of them. There's more people to see. There's more disciplinary cases. There's more cases where people need an activist to look after them. But I would love to see that you could have somebody in your trust call round with you, like on a regular basis, or you would have easy access to be able to contact them. And the same for anybody in any trust, and that should be acceptable. That if you feel you need a chat with the RCN activist or even the trade union secretary of that you can get access to them and that you'd be able to ask as anybody else would be able to ask in any of the trusts. But because I know you see the Unison coming round and they're coming round in their droves, we have to improve that and we have to have the RCN coming round in their droves and coming round to help people and ask them what we could do at that particular day to help them and how we can help them. Sometimes just having a chat's all you want. So it's been available, and I would love to see that for the trust we have here in Northern Ireland when we're going through such difficult times with everything that's going on at the minute.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next question is from David Farron from the Belfast branch. How would you hope to encourage more nursing assistants to become members of the Royal College? Siobhan?
Thanks, David. I think that's one of the issues in relation to Northern Ireland and in general in terms of the nursing assistants and seeing what their purpose is within the RCN and how they see their purpose within the RCN. We need to look at how their channels of entering into the organisation and through that is that through Target and through the workplace. But we have to give them a focus of what we can offer them. We have to have a product, we have to have something that can support them, whether it's through CPD, whether it's through supporting them in terms of the union kind of organisation, that we can support them through any kind of workplace issues or through their terms and conditions. They have to give them a career pathway if that's what they want, or support them in the job that they do. They have to feel valued. We have to give them the same opportunities as nurses that have them that are members of the organisation. So I think I think they don't feel their view in terms of how they see themselves in the RCN, and we have to improve on that. We have to make sure that they know that they are a valued member within the RCN and what we can offer them, and I think that's just being a wee bit more strategic, a wee bit talking to them, understanding why they're not necessarily become members. Do they not feel valued? Do they feel as if it's not an apparent role? We'll look at the cost, because in relation to the cost of membership and whether that is an impact on why they're not joining, is it something that they just never thought of? So it's kind of exploring the issues in terms of how we can bring that forward, but making sure that we have something to offer them, whether it's through professional development, support in the workplace, or just in terms of being a resource for them to be able to access us if and when they need us.
Thank you. Anne-Marie?
Robert, many years ago we had a drive in the RCN to recruit as many healthcare assistants as we could, and at that time they were given a year's half membership to entice them to come in, and anybody that I recruited at that time has stayed with the RCN, because once they get in they realise what they can get out of the RCN in relation to their professional development. So it's up to us to be smarter to try and attract them, because Unison and other unions are out there on the ground all the time trying to recruit, and them's the numbers they're recruiting, because them numbers are increasing in the workforce. So we have to be visible, and we have to have something to give them that would attract them to the RCN.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Patricia?
There's the nursing assistants. I think the key thing that they are looking for is career progression, and we have a very talented set of nursing assistants out there, and it's usually from when they commence with doing access courses at colleges before they get into nursing is a good place for us to start, and for us to start our communication with them. They need supported in that role, and we also have got a background, especially in Northern Ireland, with the Northern Ireland Social Care Council, and in England and Scotland with the General Skills Council, and there's an avenue there for us to be communicating with the nursing assistants and actually communicating to them of the values and benefits that the RCN can give them. And there is already benefits there. We've got our study days, we've got our congress, we've got special insurance rates and holidays, etc. And it is attractive for them to be on board. There's the bespoke career paths and competencies that they can gain, whether it's diabetes or counselling or venipuncture. That still needs to be encouraged, and they need to be regarded as a vital role and a vital component of the team that delivers care. And I think it's actually quite exciting for our nursing assistants and care assistants in the future, and there's a bigger role for them to play.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're on to the final question that's actually been handed in, so you can be thinking about if you've still got something else you want to ask as we take this one. And this is from Audrey Harris from the Northern Branch. The RCN is currently going through unsettling times. And with the re-election of council members, how would you, if successful, gain the confidence of the membership that the Royal College of Nursing has robust governance structures in place? Anne-Marie, I think you're starting us on this one.
Hello, Audrey. Lovely question. Well, I believe it's the visibility of that member being out there for the members, and that they know exactly what you stand for and what you have done. And the fact that I have been there before, bought that T-shirt and wore it, I know what has to be done to actually try and get things back on track. It's been very difficult, and it's very detrimental to the RCN itself, just the message that has got out there about what has happened. So it's getting that fixed and being on the ground, being visible, and reassuring people that it's still a very good organisation, and it's still a great organisation to be represented by and to be looked after with. So I need to get that message out and be on the ground and be visible, and not only in my own trust but in other trusts if I'm elected as your council member.
Thank you. Patricia?
Transparency, Audrey, I think is very important. I'm from the independent sector, as you know, and I believe we have got, it's about 35% of the members there that is from that sector, and there maybe is a lacking of leadership from that area, so the message is not getting out to that sector. I think I would represent that sector and provide a conduit for communication and for a much more active role to be displayed and presented to those people.
Thank you, Patricia. And
Can I
Siobhan?
just have it again? Sorry,
All right.
it's very complicated, Audrey.
Sorry.
Sorry.
There we go. I've got to find it again now.
Oh, sorry.
Lost it in my... here we are. Okay, RCN is currently going through unsettling times, and with the re-election of council members, how would you, if successful, gain the confidence of the membership that the Royal College of Nursing has robust governance structures?
I think through transparency, as Patricia has already said, the communication was one of the key issues that came out of the EGM, and probably in relation to some of the situation we're at now and the unsettling times that the RCN has gone through. But and having been through that EGM, through that process as a current council member, I think the belief and the will is there for everybody as members to be able to make sure this is an opportunity for the RCN to try and improve the governance arrangements. It's certainly been something that has brought everything to the forefront. There's some certain actions have already taken place with some of the structures within the RCN in terms of the processes and policies that will be followed moving forward to ensure that we have robust arrangements that members can have an input into how decisions are made, that the decisions are can be scrutinised, and that there is the engagement issue will remain something that we have to work on to make sure that those who want to be engaged are encouraged to do so. But we have to target everybody to make sure that we get those engaged, so that all members have input into the decisions that are made, and that we know who is accountable for each decision at each process. So I feel that the RCN will have learnt. I think they have already. It has been an uncomfortable process for the organisation and for the governors who are currently there, and for some of the staff. So I think we can only move on as an organisation, and how we do that is by ensuring the members are involved, and that we improve our communication process by identifying what channels is the best way to communicate with people. And again, that's through the engines I mentioned earlier, whether it's through social media, whether it's through bulletins, or whether it's just through posts and through word of mouth. But I think we need to build up the recovery period within the RCN, so as we can make sure that it's a more of a robust governance structure moving forward.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, candidates, for answering the questions that have come in. We're not going to overly prolong this, but equally we do want to give you the opportunity, if there is anything further people would like to raise with the candidates and have them speak on, or whether you feel you've covered the territory that you think is important. Here we are, somebody ready?
It's just a
Sorry, could you just again introduce yourself and where you're from?
From the southeastern branch. It's, I suppose, a follow-on from some points that were made. One of the points that was made about the top priority, or one of the priorities being safe staffing. And I suppose my challenge back would be as if you were the elected representative on council, how in this current climate are you actually going to lobby for safe staffing to happen with everything that's currently already being done?
Okay, I think it's Patricia to start us off on that one.
Roisin, Dave, a lot of auditing and energy's gone into what staffing levels have been, especially in the last 12 months. And I think any other industry, they actually would not permit they would not permit delivery of care in unsafe environments. There's been a lot of evidence, certainly on the ground, with both in the independent sector and the public sector, that staff are being bullied into not whistleblowing or acknowledging or filling in the right paperwork that there has been a reduction of staff, and we need to buy in with our staff to be open and transparent about it, and that they are accountable, as are the managers are accountable for it. It will take time and it will be a process, but it's getting that accountability and for staff to recognise that accountability and the consequences when things go wrong, that they are accountable for it. And for some reason staff are resistant to take that on board. Either it's through bullying or through ignorance, and they need to be taught otherwise. And that's where our support needs to come in. But I think we need to, as an industry, be very clear what is right and what is wrong, and it is wrong that low staffing levels are being allowed to continue.
Okay, thank you. Siobhan?
I think in relation to getting the safe staffing mandated within Northern Ireland, we need to learn from other areas and also learn from the work that we're doing within ourselves. Wales have recently got their safe staffing bill where they have it in law now that the staffing that they need in each area. Within Northern Ireland, we have done an awful lot of work in relation to identifying the staffing levels that are required for each area. The difficulty is that hasn't been funded through the department. So I think as a council, or as a council member or as a local member, we need to lobby the government whenever we get one. But we have to make sure that we have the right evidence to make sure that we can account for the staffing that's required. And we get that through the support of the RCN, through their safe staffing work that they've done, led by Janice Smith here in Northern Ireland, and how we can ensure that we have evidence, the important role of the nurse, the role that they do, and what the expectations that if we don't have those staff and the impact it's going to have on the health service. So I think the work is already being done, but we need as a union to get behind that and say that we need that funded and we need that implemented. Otherwise the health service and the nursing here, we're going to lose them to other areas who have already taken that forward through their government channels.
Okay, thank you. And Marie?
Roisin, well, I believe that we have the tools in Northern Ireland to be able to do that, so it's being able to influence government if we could get one in place and the right people in place to make them decisions. But there's a key thing that the trusts are missing, and probably HR departments are helping this, and that's people who are leaving the work early, people who are retiring early. Like, there's a chance to retain staff like that. That's key to keeping skilled people on the floor, to actually give them something extra to stay. There was a suggestion made within my trust that, you know, if we had a band 5 that wanted to retire, why don't we offer her a band 6 to get her to stay to another year, another 2 years, until we get the right numbers trained, to influence government to train the right numbers and workforce planning to meet the needs as in Northern Ireland, and also to ensure that the normative staffing levels that were promised everywhere in Northern Ireland are followed through. But it's actually finding the staff. It's probably retaining them and recruiting them and giving them something that they want to come into the trust for and come into Northern Ireland. But nobody's coming with anything extra to try and entice people. So I would do my damnedest to influence directors and people in positions within them trusts to try and retrain your staff that you have, giving them something extra to stay on for a couple of years for you until we get the staffing levels back, but ensuring that the normative staffing levels are followed through. And we could probably learn from Wales if we had a government in place to get that, and I would be the first one at the door to try and start that ball rolling.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there another question on the floor? Thank you, Molly.
Hi Judith, Molly Kane, Northern Branch. I was just very interested in your responses to the question about whether the General Secretary should be elected or appointed, and the sort of differences in some of the responses. I suppose a concern I've had recently is that, you know, we do now have the two committees, the Trade Union Committee and the Professional Committee, and, you know, how are we going to ensure that the new council make sure that all sides of the RCN is equally represented? We don't become, you know, if we go for election under the sort of the way you answered, Anne-Marie, and I may have got it wrong, we're going for more a trade union type person that will go forward, and we do need that, but we don't want to make sure that the professional bit is lost as well. So how do we keep the balance for the RCN? Because I think over its 100-year history we have been very good at having a very balanced organisation. I know it's gone up and down at different times, but, you know, how do we keep everybody on board?
Maybe I'll answer that
Sorry,
first.
No,
Because I was quoted in it.
No, we're going to keep to our process, if you don't mind. So it's Siobhan and then you, Anne-Marie, okay?
Molly, in terms of the new council review that took place in this year, we're still under, I suppose, a transition, and there is the members, elected members of the Professional Committee and the Trade Union Committee, which were equal numbers. In terms of the balance throughout, I don't know what you mean in terms of expertise or representation from each particular area of nursing. Is that what?
No, I mean it in the totality of the organisation. How does the organisation continue to keep both sides, or is it two sides, or keep all of the membership on board?
I think you need to look at the new structures in
Yeah.
terms of the Trade Union Committee and the Professional Nurse Committee, which then feed into council. And I think that is that is the committees in terms of there has been previously all the different members and the membership committees, and there was the overall council. There's now a more focused council, but there's the trade union people who deal with a lot of the trade union issues and the professional issues. They both have equal parity in terms of the decision making on the different streams that they might have to deal with, but then the overall, then they will feed back into council in terms of the decision making and the endorsing of anything that they have discussed. But there will be the equal value of the professional and the trade union issues moving forward.
Okay, thanks, Anne-Marie.
And Molly, maybe in your answer, I didn't mean that to make it less and make more of the trade union. It's just that on the ground there is very little trade union activists, RCN stewards, to cover the work that has to be covered. And it's the same complaint throughout the UK. I don't want in any way dull down the professional side of it. I want to see the both sides growing together, but we want to see enough activists there on the ground to be able to look after the members, because the RCN is there to represent members in the workplace, and we have learning reps to advise them on learning development. And you know, all the angles, the RCN is a big body, and I feel it's a very good union and a very good professional union, and I want it to stay that way. And I don't believe an elected General Secretary would make that difference. We can't lose the two sides of the RCN. But they work very well together in the structures that they have.
Okay, thank you. And Patricia?
The two sides are predominantly, they're symbiotic to each other, and that relationship is very important. I agree with Anne-Marie that in the trade union side we are lacking in that, and that does need built up and developed, because in the front line with our staff, they see the other unions out there, and that's where the other unions have strength, and we do need to build that up. But the RCN has always been known for its professionalism, and the professional healthcare worker is usually, you find that they have commenced with the RCN, very few of them actually go to the other side, and if they do, it's they come back again. So they both need to work together, and one validates the other. The trade union side does need enhanced and we need to have more out on the front line and engaging with our members. But I see it as two sides but one structure.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Is there another question by any chance? Any other? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, well, thank you very much. Can we say thank you to our candidates for taking all of those questions and making their presentations? So let's just thank them. And we wish you well. in the election process. Just a few concluding remarks. Thank you to all of you for coming and for writing out your questions and also from participating from the floor. I think that's been very helpful, the level of discussion that we've been able to have on the back of all of that. I'd like to thank John and others from the RCN staff who've supported this process. So thank you for enabling us to hold the hustings and to put our toe in the water in this kind of process. So maybe we'll learn from this going forward. So thank you for helping with that. Reminder to members that voting is now open and will close on the 11th of December. And please vote, encourage others to vote, and just get the message out there and do that. It's a real way to participate and to really get the governance right. And I think we've had some penetrating questions on that here tonight, so important to see how we can get as many people engaged as possible in this. So let's use the opportunity. So thank you all very much and safe home. Thank you. Thank you.